Hi, welcome to our first group episode of Mustache You Mondays. I think maybe two people watched the episode that I recorded with Mitch, and I'm forever grateful for their support and advocacy for mustaching each other questions. So I think without further ado, let's introduce our new guests. Hopefully, you all remember Mitch, whose claim to fame is marrying into the Coptic Orthodox Church, and we're very grateful to have poached him from our Catholic brethren. We also have Ralph Toss, who really should go without introduction because he's a menace. Uh, and you may or may not have um, attended a talk by Dr. Sharif Abdul Malik. If you have, you probably were not paying attention and you probably didn't catch the bombs that he was dropping. So next time, actually pay attention to what this man is saying because he will say some things that will scandalize 90% of the people in the room. So, welcome everybody. Do you guys want to say anything in way of introducing yourselves, or shall we get to our topic for today?
Let's get to the topic,
So,
whatever that is.
we've tried recording. This is what, our third or fourth time?
I think it's third.
Third,
It's pretty
third
cool.
time. So
Not bad.
technical difficulties, traveling, medical emergencies, all kinds of things have stopped us from getting a hot start like we wanted. But
Don't
uh,
let the ugly t-shirt stop you. I'm proud of that today. You did not let that ugly t-shirt stop you. So
actually, I totally forgot that we were recording, and I was like dressed actually really nicely for work in a way that I was like, "Whoa, I like this little combo that I had," and I was like, "Ah, I don't think I have anything to do later." So I just changed into this, and I'm like, I actually don't even like this t-shirt. Like somebody gave it to
good.
me as a gift, but that just goes to show my attention span. Speaking of which,
Mm.
last time we tried to record. Ralph, you said something that has been ringing in my ear, where
Oh,
I said something about how I tend to be on the side of being cautious and not overstating things, and if I have an opinion, not to be too forceful with that opinion. Do you remember what you said? Because I think you'd say it better, but I can repeat what I remember, and then you can kind
I,
of
I
go from.
don't I don't remember.
You said something along the lines, but that shouldn't stop us from having convictions and saying things. And, if somebody disagrees, they're allowed to disagree. But you almost said you have the right to be sure of yourself if you want to be. And I'm like, oh, like I was never given that privilege. I was never encouraged to do that.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, so I,
So
I
sorry.
think one of the things that we've discussed in a lot of the topics that have come up, and we've been texting about this between the four of us, is the balance between conviction, faith, belief, uh, having a sense of identity, and then the other end being this sort of dude, whatever, man, like willy-nilly, like amorphous thing. Um, and yes, I think it's good to have a sense of identity, but not when that becomes sort of like this exclusive, like we're better than everybody else kind of way. Um, and it's good to be flexible and easygoing and welcoming, but not at the point where you lose your own identity. And I think, Ralph, you and I can have a conversation just between the two of us, disagree completely, right? Like, be like, no, like, I couldn't disagree more with what you're saying. But I genuinely, at least sincerely believe that when you make a point that I completely disagree with, I'm like, no, but he's definitely got something that's well thought through. And even though I disagree with it, like I get where he's coming from. So I think that's our first thing. And I must ask you all to weigh in on this question of, how sure of ourselves should we be? Like, what is like, how do you know that you have the right amount of conviction and right amount of flexibility when conviction and flexibility tend to be things that are counterintuitive to each other.
Can I start by making a generational comment?
Yeah.
I think being like the younger of the millennials here, we were raised as
Wow, that's
technology is
really
miniaturized.
arrogant.
Yeah, it
I,
is, and I'm okay with it.
I
I'm
identify
perfectly
as a
patient.
23-year-old.
Okay, well, you're not. Um, but I would say like we were raised in a world where like technology was emerging, or access to technology was emerging, and there's a bit of a barbell of like conviction and knowledge where like on the one end of the barbell everyone is certain that everything they say is right and it cannot be contradicted, and then there's a thin layer of people who are like sort of firm, sort of not firm, and then the other end of the barbell is this mass of people who have no confidence unless they check ChatGPT, no confidence unless they Google in any given domain or knowledge, going from like Bible knowledge all the way down to like how light refracts with water. Like there's a barbell significant between those two. And it's difficult to, it's like you can constantly double check and there's more nuance and more nuance. In a world of information, it becomes difficult to be super confident in anything you say.
And I think the likelihood is that the more sure someone is of everything that they say, that the less likely they know anything at all about anything that they say, right? Like I've said this before, like I don't know what percentage of my salary, but it's significant. Like it's in the double digit percentages where I would give this percent of my salary just like to feel like I'm doing a good job and I'm not like constantly questioning myself. When I say that to someone, they're like, no, but part of what makes you good at what you do is that constant self reflection, that questioning. Like if you gave up that percentage of your salary and got that in return, you wouldn't be as good at what you do.
Look, I think you gotta, St. Augustine said it best, right? Uh, and then Donald Rumsfeld, repeated it without attributing it to St. Augustine, right? He said, there's the things that we know and the things that we don't know. And the things that we don't know, right? So there's the things that we know, the things that we don't know, and the things that we don't even know we don't know, right? But there are things that we know. I mean, for someone to sort of, aggregate for themselves a full knowledge of everything or every single word that comes out of their mouths is, has to be absolutely correct. That person's an idiot. But in the small world that in the tiny world that I inhabit, there is an infinitesimal amount of knowledge that I am confident about, an infant, and it's small, but I'm confident about those things. And and even though it's an infinitesimal amount, but it might be extremely far reaching and have infinite eternal implications. So even if I have that little tiny bit of knowledge, it might be, I'm not just talking a tiny bit of knowledge as, I'm sitting here at a desk or something. I don't even know if that's true,
We're
but
not sure if that's true, and we're
yeah,
not
I don't
sure
know if
if
that's
you
true.
really think that we think that you're in San Francisco.
Yeah, right there, so,
Like,
but
how
I think
confident are you that that's a really nice background?
I'm not at all. It's better than the background I have here, though. Normally,
How
naturally.
bad could it possibly be?
You can't even begin to imagine. You can't even begin to imagine. And so I think as Christians, the four of us, I think we have to say that there are things that we know to be true and that we're confident about, and it's not open for discussion or I mean, it's open for debate because it's always great to learn and always good to know the holes in your own thinking and to try to figure out for yourself why you have those holes or why the holes are there and try to fill the holes in. But, I think as Christians, we have a subset of reality that we know to be true regardless of what it is, whether it's a woman is a woman, on one end, or Jesus Christ is the incarnate God. I think those things we are not up for thinking.
Well, I think anything is up for thinking except life and death. Uh,
Hmm.
I deal with death a lot of time, so that's That's what I've been telling my colleagues and my patients. We are all going to die, but it's when and how. That's the truth that I know. And everything beneath that is uncertain,
Hmm.
Yeah.
including like biblical facts, including dogmatic facts. Like I know that they are there, I believe in them, but if I say no, that's non-negotiable. No, we are not discussing this, or no, I'm 100% sure that is true. That contradicts faith. Faith and uncertainty they go hand by hand, in my opinion. If I'm certain that I'm alive, I don't have faith that I'm alive. If I'm certain that I'm eating a cookie, there is no faith in that. It's a cookie.
St. Paul said it's by faith that we walk. So even the walking that you think is done consciously or whatever it is, you walk by faith because you don't know what the next step is going to be. So you walk by faith. But that still doesn't mean that you don't know that you have feet and you don't know that there is earth beneath you. So
Mm.
while we walk by faith, we know beyond all doubt that I have feet. And I know, unless I'm in a wheelchair, then I know beyond all doubt that I'm in a wheelchair. So I think while we might even walk by faith, but the constructs of how we walk are not debatable. Like I say, we can debate them or we can learn about certain things, but there's no uncertainty in my world that I have feet and that I'm moving on earth. Do you?
Yeah, the abstract fact, yeah, but how it works, the mechanism, the obstacle, what will be next.
Right. What will
It's,
be next is the thing that's up in the air.
yeah.
But your feet aren't up in the air unless you're Mina sitting back on his nice comfy chair there.
I ask a question, Sharif, just to double click on what you said. So the Catholic Church would teach that not only do we have faith in God and in Jesus, but also we can prove it as fact. Like those two things are true. One, you can do faith, but it's not by faith alone. We can also use facts, the scientific method, to prove the existence of God, the existence of Jesus as God. Is that in your mind a step too far, or is just we can be that's up for that even that is up for debate?
Yeah, that's part of the debate to prove and disprove and get, like, and we have the apologetic fathers, we have Athanasius using reason to prove contrariety. But in my opinion, and it's not an official opinion at all, in the Orthodox mindset, I don't think that proving that God or exists in certain form or this biblical fact is written in this way and we can explain it in this way, I don't think that's the first priority. In my Orthodox understanding, the first priority is about life and death as well, and all the other facts
Hmm.
stems from this uh, dilemma or dichotomy or theory of life or this fact of life and death. What I'm trying to reach is yes, I'm certain that I have a feet. I'm certain that I'm sitting on a chair, but beneath this simple fact, I don't have proof of what's really going on. I know the physiology of moving, the anatomy, but on multiple levels, going deep on the cellular level, for example, there are stuff that we don't know and stuff that we speculate. Going to the spiritual realm or the doctrinal realm, I believe in a Trinity, but and I can use analogies, I can use philosophy, like I can use Platonic philosophies, Aristotelian dialectic to try to understand, but at a certain point, I'm not sure. And if I'm 100% sure, that's not faith.
Well, I
That's
don't. I
knowledge.
mean, I don't think you're giving faith a fair try. Number one, I mean, Jesus asked a question repeatedly to his followers. He said, "Who do you say that I am? Who do
Hmm.
you say that I am?" You know, Apostle Sharif would say, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Who are you? Who do you say you are? Because, but to leave me out of it because I don't know. I don't know who you are, you know? And that to me seems like that's not sort of the question that's demanded of us. The answer that's demanded of us. It might be an honest answer for many people to say, who are you, and Jesus would say, come and see, right? Come and see. So the come and see is, I have proof of who I am. The beginning of St. John's gospel, he talks about testimony, evidence. Like, I will show you. He says in the letters, he says, this God who we have seen, which we've touched with our own hands, which we've seen with our own eyes, we've heard with our own ears. This is a
Hmm.
very tangible. I, I mean, that's what the incarnation is, not just that God becoming man, but we can touch it and see it and eat it even. I mean, Christianity isn't some sort of esoteric philosophical belief. It is dirty, it is hands-on, it is sweaty, it is bloody. That's what it is.
It's
And if it's
very human.
anything less than that, then
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I mean,
again, does it reach on Earth the level of 100% certainty? The
yes,
beauty of the trip is I'm exploring every day another depth.
beautiful, beautiful. But you don't explore depth. You have to dig and get dirty to explore depth. You have to
Oh, yeah.
understand there's a ground, and you have a shovel, and your feet are gonna get dirty, and your hands are gonna get all scabby. I mean, that's
maybe I'm
Mitch wants to say
misunderstanding
something.
your definition of truth. Maybe that's where I'm caught up. Like, what is true? That maybe that's the
Hmm.
the deeper question here is I'm just misunderstanding your definition of truth. So if you
Who
could
you
kind of lay
asking?
out the bright line, that would be
You,
really
you asking
helpful.
Sharif?
Well, that I don't
Yeah,
know.
sure. Yeah. Okay.
So here, let
Because like
me
I
let me
yeah.
let me ask you a question, Mitch, because I think I know what Sharif would say, and I think I know what Ralph would say. I was asked this question in my Christology class, and when I ask you this question, don't think that I believe that A, there's a right answer, or B, that I think that this is clearly spelled out one way or another. It's a contemplative question, not a dogmatic question. Did Jesus know without a shadow of a doubt, for sure, that he was God?
When?
No, not
When?
you, not you,
Oh, not me. Oh, okay, sorry. No, I'm
Mitch.
refining your question.
Well, I'm just asking,
That
in
you're
in
like,
his
hey,
life,
did Jesus
was
know
there
this?
ever a moment where he questioned his
In the
own
entirety of
divinity?
his life, you mean? Or
Yeah.
the last 3 years? Those are different answers.
I- I'm
Those are
asking
different answers.
Jesus, the human being, the incarnate word,
Yes.
right? Whether you ascribe to the Chalcedonian, fully human and fully divine, um, or the Alexandrian, uh, united incarnate word, and you agree that depending on how you say it, it could be misconceived and misunderstood, but in both cases, they can be reconciled that there's two hypostases in one, one hypostasis in two uh, essences, the divine essence and the human essence that he carries. Okay, so
Mitch,
all of that existential
yeah,
reality being true and agreed upon, whether you're Chalcedonian or not,
yep.
that person of Jesus, who is the incarnate Word, who is fully human and fully divine, in his humanity, in his time here on earth, is there ever a moment that he goes, "Man,
When
I'm
you
not
got it,
really sure."
listen. I'm not being
He's not
petulant. And before
asking
Mitch
you.
answers, you got to say when. So at
Any
four
point.
months old, no, at 4 months old is different than when he was at 14, and different when he was in 34. Saint Luke
I
says he grew in
I don't
stature
know if
before
it is.
God and man. So he
Listen,
grew.
I
at
don't know if
four
it
months
is.
old, he's not old enough to doubt. At 14 years old, I think that's a fair question. I think it's a
Okay,
fair
so ask
question.
that question just to be
But
sure
it
you're
could
asking
he
the
could
right
be
question.
4, he could be 24, he could be 31. At one
Mm.
point or another, he wonders, hey, am I fully divine? Does that happen?
So,
Or at
so
all
we've
times,
had some debate. Okay, I would say that all times my I would have to pull up the reason and blah blah blah. But like Mitch Burning believes that at all times Jesus knew he was divine.
okay, Sharif,
The Orthodox Church, as I understand it, I hope I'm understanding it well, is exactly what Mitch said.
I'm asking
Mitch
you though.
didn't. Oh, me, as I said, I believe in that. I have faith in that. Is it 100% sure? I don't know. That's in the next life.
I will give you the answer. Well, I will give you the answer that
And
you're
you'll be
that you're
excommunicated right afterwards. Yeah, tell
I
us.
will give you the answer that your hearts have been searching for. Okay. So I think it's important to I think it's important to stress that Jesus grew in stature before God and man. That means in reality, he grew. When he was 9 months old, he didn't even have a sense of self, let alone, like we know babies and their mothers when they're born don't even know that they're not a single, that they're not two humans. They think that they're one unit. So I think he grew like a normal child would grow. And I also think, you know, brace yourself for a minute. I also think he had as much proof of God's existence as we do. He had as much proof of God's existence as we do. And he grew to this knowledge, I think, of who he was. And I think the proof is in when at the baptism, we have the Gospels telling us that the voice said two different things. The voice said, in one Gospel, the voice says, This is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased, right? But in another Gospel, the voice says, You are my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. I think that verse about, I think the voice said to the people, it was affirming who this man was. And
Mhm.
I think also the hint in the Bible is that voice was also affirming to Christ who he was.
Mhm.
And I think from that moment on, from the time of that moment when Christ heard that word, you are my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. I don't think not for a single second did he doubt, and not for a single second did he not know who he was. But I think up until then, I think we sort of make Jesus into some kind of Superman who didn't grow like we did, didn't come to a full understanding of himself. We
Yeah.
haven't come to full
What about?
understandings of
I don't know
ourselves.
where it is. I'm not a good Bible study, but Luke 2 something, where he's at his father's house, where he
Yeah,
knows he's at his father's house.
yeah.
So I would say, I mean, that's so to me, that would be my reputation for the baptism. But I would say, like, just because, like, to me, it's like, when do you become, like, what is it? Yeah, it's a super complicated question, but I would say there is no bright line for when he realizes he's the Son of God, that he's part of the Trinity. There is no bright line because at that point, we're just like throwing at straws. I would say the bright line was at conception where he was created the Son of God.
And I would say that there is also no hard stop. There's no red line that says you cannot be Christian if one of these or both of these things are true. One, you yourself, right, believe and act on faith, but do not consider it to be an absolute truth that Jesus is the Son of God, right? Like, say, I believe it and I'm living my life according to this premise. That makes me Christian, right? For me to say, no, I think it is unequivocally true, and I think it's a matter of fact, not a matter of faith. I don't think we necessarily need to make that leap.
Yeah,
Now, if
but you're
somebody's faith is stronger than mine, right, and they're making that claim that it's a fact rather than a conviction or a faith, I respect that, but I don't think that that's required. Number one, and number two, I don't think that it is heretical to say that it's possible that Jesus had a moment of doubt, right? A moment where he's like, I wonder if this is really who I am, as long as, and this is required, that we don't believe that he sinned, which he did not, and as long as we don't believe that he acted in a way that would betray his divinity, because that would be antithetical to his full divinity and full humanity. But just the human propensity to self-doubt, for that to be part of his humanity, and for that self-doubt to extend into the doubt of his divinity, I don't think that's necessarily heretical. I don't know if, I'm not saying it's an orthodox concept. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's not something that's definitively untrue.
But that's an esoteric question that the church fathers answered for us in a way that's saying, this is the creed, this is what you have to believe. I mean, they gave us a nice little formula that doesn't go into any what did Jesus
Right,
think about himself? I
right,
mean, any type of, 21st century, psychological analysis of Christ, that doesn't really matter. It's
right.
it's what's in the creed, and that I know those things from who God is to where I'm going after the death and resurrection. Those things I know. There's no doubt in my mind about those things. And Sharif is going to say, "Where's faith?" I mean,
No, I'm not saying this. I'm saying that I'm enjoying exploring what the church think as facts through the lens of doubt.
Hmm. Right? There's a difference between I understand what the church believes versus what me personally, in my weak existence, am able to apprehend for myself as my own acceptance of fact.
well, Mark Twain
Yeah,
said, faith is good, but doubt brings you an education. So
I
as
know.
long as as long as the doubt is bringing to some, like I don't have a doubt in the reality of the Trinity. Do any of us here have a doubt in in
I think Mitch said that Mariology is a doubt for him. Is that what you meant in the
Yeah,
chat?
the leap if to for this for Catholicism goes like the when I was first introduced to Mariology at like 18, I was like, wait, that we're gonna so Mary was also sinless? Okay, okay.
That's you, not
Yeah,
us.
so I was like, okay, that's a rule we have to follow. I'm a good Catholic. We follow the rules. Man, that's hard. That's a bite that I didn't know I was gonna have to take. Yeah,
and did
I
you take
think
it?
my
yeah, yeah. I did. Through a lot of like talking with people smarter than me. I'm aligned in that. But again, but that's
So you
you know,
believe it like you believe the creed,
yeah.
or are there different levels of belief?
No, I believe it like I believe the creed.
Mary's the co-redemptrix with Christ.
Yep, yeah. She's the
Well,
new
it's
Eve.
in the Roman magisterial teachings. We don't negotiate this here.
No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah. Like
co-redemptrix with Christ is not an orthodox teaching. We
no,
don't
it's not.
believe she
I'm
doesn't
talking
have that
about the
title.
Roman magisterium
Yeah,
teachings.
it's
Yeah,
Rome.
yeah. Again, I told you at the very beginning. I follow the rules after study, and through my life, nothing has disappointed me more than like life, but nothing has been more solid than the magisterium in the Catholic Church.
okay. So why don't we pick up where we left off here? So this will be our
Can
first
you just
episode.
like comment on Rolf, like, did Jesus, like the incarnate God, had a doubt about his divinity at any point in life? So in Orthodoxy, no, because there's one mind, one nature, one mind. So this is question is cannot be even asked in Orthodoxy. And as he's growing, his understanding, his understanding is growing gradually. We need to get the apocryphal gospel of infancy of Jesus and the Islamic
Yes.
version of
All
the life
garbage.
of Jesus.
It's all
That's
garbage. It's all
we're getting
garbage.
spicy. We're getting spicy here.
And I've asked bishops that question, and I don't think it's as unorthodox as you think it is.
What?
We're
So
going to
me,
get cut off on the recording, but I think it's going to be a
okay.
great end to our first episode where we're just like, all right, you guys talk too much.
You talk too much. So in the Islamic version that Christ spoke as a baby.
Yes, that's
We
childish.
don't
That's
believe as
insane.
Orthodox in this.
Good, thank God.
we don't believe as Orthodox